Okay, what up, friendos? Welcome back. We're going to look at today what I hope is the last laughable news out of the entire dumpster fire of Mindseye and Build a Rocket Boy. But I know there is eventually going to need to be a post-mortem of a studio that raised hundreds of millions of dollars, factually, hundreds of millions of dollars from investors to become the next big thing, to basically take somebody's name and somebody's experience in the industry and leverage that into being this huge new great thing, and then failing so completely that it will go down in history, at least hopefully, as one of the biggest failures in AAA ever. You've seen Concord. Obviously, Concord was a absolute massive failure, completely shit itself to death in record time. Mindseye is probably on par, or, you know, very slightly worse or very slightly better, depending on which way you look at it, for being one of the biggest failures ever that we've seen in terms of numbers. Both numbers in playing the game, reviews, and then, of course, in money raised commensurate to what they've actually done. And the only news that's going to come after this, hopefully, is that the studio is closing down, because there's no way anyone's going to give him another dollar, and he's wasted all the dollars that people did give him producing one of the worst games ever made, and then also basically proving that he's got something seriously wrong with his mental, something seriously wrong with his brain, in receiving criticism and looking at objective numbers and facts surrounding the game that he's made. So if you don't know, long intro there, Mindseye is made by Build a Rocket Boy. If you've not paid attention in the last sort of decade in the games industry, there's been like a gold rush between investors and insiders in the industry to basically make the next big studio. And what usually happens is somebody works somewhere in some kind of like top level position that produces a great game and maybe a great franchise and success over a sustained period of time. And then they leave and they go and make their own studio, and VCs or big publishers or just institutional investment in general comes in and backs them to make a new studio. And this raises anywhere, depending on the name, between tens of and hundreds of millions of dollars. And then they go off and make what many people hope or assume will be another success, building on that track record. In reality, what happens is most of these people, most of these big names go away, make nothing for many years, spend all the money that was given to them mismanaging a studio, maybe shit out something that isn't very successful or is completely mediocre and doesn't compete, and in probably single-digit percentage of the time produce something that's good and continues to build on that legacy. And I did just want to take a minute to give the other side. There are examples, many examples in fact, some of the most successful studios over the last decade, of people leaving these big companies and seeing great success. They're just outweighed massively by all the failures. Some of the successes, and I think relevant to current day, is the game on screen right now, the game you can see in the background that I'm playing, that I just paused to come make this video. Arc Raiders is made by Embark Studios, where the higher-ups and many of the people working there came from EA. Patrick Soderlund specifically is the name mentioned, and he was high up within the company. He left, he made Embark Studios, and since then they've received large sums of funding, being predominantly owned by Nexon. They've made now two very successful games, first with the finals and now with Arc Raiders, which looks like it's honestly going to go on to be one of the best received live service games in recent years. Another big name, of course, is Hideo Kojima. You probably don't need history on that one, but Kojima Productions is, of course, a very successful studio. Respawn Entertainment, many people don't know, is predominantly made up, at least originally, of people from Infinity Ward, the creators, well, one of the creators of Call of Duty. Ben Brode, of course, left Blizzard after 15 years of working at the company to make Second Dinner, which produced Marvel Snap, which is incredibly successful. There are many examples of this. Even if you look at Blizzard, there are many people who worked at that company who left to use their name to raise a bunch of funding, and their studios have produced nothing to date, or they've failed already. Many times, these people that worked at these studios probably wasn't the brains behind it, or maybe they just, caught lightning in a bottle once, and they're not going to be able to produce that another time. This is exactly the case with Build a Rocket Boy and Mindseye. Leslie basically worked at Rockstar and built Grand Theft Auto. You know, this made his name in the industry. And then, of course, following in the long line of history of people doing this as well, went on to raise hundreds of millions of dollars from investors to make what presumably was going to be the next successor or the competitor to a game that has no competitor, to Grand Theft Auto. And it didn't work, did it? They had hundreds of employees and then spent from 2016 till 2025 producing Mindseye, a game that, when released, despite paying content creators, streamers, some of the biggest streamers on the planet, YouTubers, some of the biggest YouTubers on the planet that cover games, refused to break 3,302 players concurrently on launch day, which is... This basically puts Mindseye as one of the biggest failures in the AAA industry ever. Basically, as I've just gone over, there is a track record and a history of these people doing this, raising money off their name, making their own studio. A lot of the times, it's people who were in at the ground level when studios were small and they were creative and they were making something for the love of the game. And then it gets more and more corporate. The money men come in, the publishers take over, and then those people who were the creatives originally leave, and they say, oh, this is a good thing now because the creatives are back in control and we have all this money. But then they produce nothing of value most of the time. And this has happened so many times that the industry is now in a financial decline in almost every metric possible. The industry, by and large, if you're looking at like AAA investment, if you're looking at outside investors coming in and putting money into the industry, studios raising funds like they were able to for the last 10 years, that's at an almost zero now. Nobody is funding new studios because this track record is so fucking bad, which is unfortunate in some ways and in others probably deserved. But basically, if you're looking at like a new startup studio that happened in the last couple of years, if they run out of runway, nobody's giving them a penny anymore, they're fucked. Which is why some of them will turn to early access and crowdfunding and try to get the public to pay for their product because investors no longer will. And then obviously, if you look at like the biggest scope of things, the games industry in general is just, there's just no money coming in. People are buying games less. People are spending less money on the games that they do buy. They're continuing to just play free-to-play games that they already own, buying games on sale. And just in general, if you're releasing a AAA product in 2025 going forward, it has to be best in class, it has to be really good, or it's probably going to see dwindling numbers over and over again. We're just too saturated with stuff to do, stuff to play, and the increasing box price of things, the increasing cost of building computers and buying consoles, just means that the industry's in a really weird spot. Long story short, obviously, that's like a fucking 8-minute long TED talk on the failings of the AAA games industry. This guy is so fucked that basically he's being sued now. The studio is being sued, and also there's like a 93 employees, ex and current, that have anonymously signed a letter saying that this company is fucking awful to work for, that they've mismanaged a bunch of stuff, that they've basically forced people to take overtime. What's known as crunch usually in the industry is pretty bad, but of course this company seems to be specifically bad for this. They've mishandled people's redundancies. They are still crunching people even now that the game's a complete failure. They've fired loads of people recently because of the game being so bad. And basically they're saying the CEO needs to take a step back. The execs need to take a step back. And this is going to play into this. BBC article here. In July this year, workers at Build a Rocket Boy video game studio in Edinburgh were called to an all-staff meeting. Their first ever game, a sci-fi adventure called Mindseye, had been released 3 weeks earlier and it had been a total disaster. Critics and players called it broken, buggy, and the worst game of 2025. That's a rough title to recover from because 2025, 2024, probably 2026, we're going to continue to see these big AAA flops, these hundreds of millions of dollars, these studios that took in this money, these pre-established studios, the Ubisofts, things like that, releasing some absolute fucking stinkers. It is what it is. This is what's going to happen until a lot of these companies just vanish and then things will get back on track. the good thing, I'm not dooming the industry. I think the industry's in the best place it's ever been. AA, small studios, indie, are producing some of the Game of the Year contenders like never before. Every few months we're getting something that's fucking crazy, unprecedented, doing great numbers. It's just AAA that needs a course correct. And the best way for a course correct is for some of these studios to just learn the lesson. You can't do this anymore. You can't spend increasing sums of money on things that don't push the bar forward, that aren't innovative, that aren't something that people really want to play. And this is good news for me, even if it means a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. It's unfortunate. I can't help that. It just is what it is. We need this course correction because the industry is just, it's done too much. You can't keep increasing the cost of games. You can't keep increasing the cost of making games and just expect the line will always go up. This is not cryptocurrency. This is not NFTs. Which, of course, that didn't happen either, did it? So then, basically, during this big staff meeting, the company's boss assured them there was a plan to get things back on track and said the negativity they'd seen was uncalled for. Make bad game, people say game is bad, people don't buy game, uncalled for. Really uncalled for. Then he pivoted, alleging internal and external forces had been working to scupper the Mindseye launch. So this is where the craziness gets in, right? Because this person has repeatedly, over and over again, through the course of the initial testing of this game and the release, gone on record to say there is some kind of like shadow cabal out there being paid by competitors, presumably like Rockstar or something, because what else would be a competitor to this game other than, you know, a shit in a toilet, I guess, would be a competitor to this. He's basically alleging that people are being paid to suppress the game and talk badly about the game, which, let me just tell you, doesn't happen. Like, somebody who works in the industry should know this doesn't happen. It's illegal. You wouldn't be able to do it. You'd get banned, you'd get fined, you'd get imprisoned. And why would a company that is financially, critically, objectively successful pay money to people for an unproven method of suppressing a game that isn't even good anyway? Like, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? It's something that you would have to be incredibly deluded to believe. And let me just say, content creators don't have that level of power. If a game's good and you say the game's bad, people will just go play the game for the 2-hour free period, decide you're wrong, downvote your content and call you a fucking idiot. If the game's bad and you say the game's good, they'll call you a shill and unsubscribe from you and dislike your video and go around the internet telling everyone that you were paid to say the game's good. So this doesn't exist. Content creators have some level of, like, I guess, exposure towards making something better received or worse received, but the idea that they can completely break or make a game it's crazy. A lot of the times when a game gets successful that's being covered by content creators, it was going to anyway. That just signal boosts it in the short term, but medium to long term it would have already done well. Would it have done as well? Probably not. Would it have done as worse in the inverse? Probably not. But the idea that they're making or breaking a game completely is absolutely fucking delusional. So basically, he told the assembled workers who'd been informed they'd faced redundancy just a week earlier, there would be an effort to, quote, root out saboteurs within the company. I find it disgusting that anyone could sit amongst us, behave like this, and continue to work here, he said, according to a transcript of the meeting verified by BBC Newsbeat. So he legitimately thinks that there's, like, embedded spies, like corporate espionage level shit within his company, which he needs to be outed from this company immediately. But does it really matter because the company's dead? Like, this game can never be successful. This studio can never be successful from here. They've wasted way too much money, and the reputation is completely fucked. They have nothing left. Unfortunately, if they are working there, you're probably going to need to be looking for somewhere else to work pretty soon. Staff who worked at the studio say they were stunned, and not only by the strength of the language, they simply didn't believe him. Who would? This is crazy. As far as they were concerned, there was no conspiracy, and the reasons for Mindseye failure was clear. He's also known for his work at Rockstar Games, where he was a senior figure on Grand Theft Auto action-adventure series and regarded by many as a key architect of its success. Great. I mean, if you can't reproduce it, though, unlucky. It is what it is. He left in 2016, 3 years after the record-breaking launch of GTA 5, sparking a legal row over unpaid royalties that was settled out of court. In the same year, he set up the company that would become Build a Rocket Boy. By the end of 2024, it had grown to 448 employees. Now, not to question this guy's business acumen, because I couldn't form a studio with 448 employees, and I couldn't make a video game. But from just a common sense perspective, if you were going to like make your own studio, wouldn't it make a lot of sense to just start out kind of small, build like a moderately sized game, and then build upon that success, and not just be like, right, day one, minute one, we're building a 400-man studio to make a competitor to one of the most successful games ever. Like, the level of fucking narcissism to think that you're just going to like, boom, success, just because you worked at a successful studio before, is exactly why the schadenfreude of seeing somebody fail this fucking monumentally is great. It feels good because you deserved it. Like, I don't know, shoot for the stars, aim for the stars. Society will always laugh at you when you miss. But if you succeed as well, you would have gotten massive amounts of praise. But then add in you just are a dislikable character anyway that just makes conspiracy theories about the failure of your game. It doesn't just be like, either quiet, that would be preferable, or just be like, yeah, we're going to work on it, guys, don't worry, we fucked up. A little bit of humanity would go a long way, but instead, no, the only way I can fail, being me, the fucking god that I am, is that people were malevolently plotting behind the scenes. AKA, I'm fucking crazy. Most were based in his main office, a former casino in Leith, Edinburgh, but the company also had studios in Budapest, the French, and in the French city of Montpellier. Former staff say salaries were competitive, the company allowed remote working, and their response to the COVID-19 pandemic was good. Cool, great. With him at the helm, Bob being Build a Rocket Boy, of course, a lot of interest in, according to documents from UK companies illegally required to publish online, have managed to attract more than 233 million of investment by 2024. That's a big number. That's Star Citizen, not quite. That's like a quarter of a Star Citizen. That's going to be a new financial metric one day. It's a quarter of a Star Citizen so far. Between 2020 and 2024, the company posted losses totaling 202 million, with its largest for a single year being 2023 at 59.1. So basically, in 4 years, they'd blown essentially all of their runway. Like, they'd blown all of their money building this game, so, which is why the game launched in 2025 in a completely rushed state. Still managed to save some dollary dues behind to pay some content creators to try and get the game marketed. Nobody cared still, of course. Bob's first project was Everywhere, described by one former employee, Jamie, not their real name, as a multiplayer role-playing game based in an open-ended futuristic city. I thought we had something quite special, says Jamie, who left in 2022. To fulfill the vision, Jamie says that they requested new ideas and features be added at breakneck speed. The reason I'm not pronouncing his name, by the way, is because I'll get it wrong and then people will cry about it in the comments. So I'm just going to say they or Leslie. We're on first name terms just because I don't want to look up how to pronounce this. That's how lazy I truly am. They were going to breakneck speeds, too fast for them to properly be implemented. The studio's main focus would eventually shift to Mindseye, a game originally intended to be offered as an experience within Everywhere. Leslie never decided what game he wanted to make, says Jamie. There was no coherent direction. Who'd have thought with a game named Everywhere, right? He just wanted the game to be everything, and instead it turned out to be nothing except shit. This style of working plagued the project from the start, they say, and would be a sign of things to come. Everywhere, a platform driven by user-generated content, was Bob's first project. So basically it was going to be the metaverse, but without crypto and NFTs, and without any success, which is kind of like the metaverse anyway. A letter recently signed by 93 current and former Bob employees alleged the studio management made radical changes without properly consulting workers. Former lead data analyst Ben Newson says it was common for staff to be caught off guard by knee-jerk decisions from upper management without proper explanation. The letter further alleges leadership repeatedly refused to listen to its experienced workforce. Ben, whose team was tasked with collecting feedback and presenting it to management, says there was rarely any response when they flagged issues. A lot of the points that we were hammering home on were just ignored and never actioned. His former colleague, associate producer Marg Peloso, says the studio's culture also discouraged individuals from speaking out. Who'd have thought? Somebody who raised $200+ million and was a success and was lauded as a success, started a studio, thought they could make a game called Everywhere that was going to be everything, wouldn't listen to feedback from the peons, from the plebs, from the serfs. Who'd have fucking thought? Despite presumably paying them for their expertise and their experience in the industry, why the fuck would he listen? This is a common theme with these people. They are the original rock stars, you know, pun intended, I guess. Morg says that their attempts to raise concerns were laughed at in meetings with bosses. He was laughing now, motherfucker. Where's your studio? Staff also accuse him of micromanaging the studio, a process allegedly illustrated in a video uploaded to the official Mindseye YouTube account. What? I've not seen this, so let's see what's in this video.
Looks beautiful.
Oh, it's fucking beautiful, man. Fuck, man, it's fucking beautiful.
This is what we do. We sit, we play it. There's usually somebody in there who will take tickets. Chris, you got a ticket about the fire extinguisher. Did you get the raindrops over here? We'll record the videos, we'll take little...
I'm not being funny, bro, but this game, like, I didn't play this, but this game looks ass, right? This game actually looks... You know, we've been seeing it a lot on social media recently with people being like, oh my god, AI can create a video game. Look how good this looks. I can show you one, actually, right now. Is what this game looks like to me. And this is made by AI. It just looks goofy as shit. Like, look at this absolute fucking garbage. Just things appearing out of nowhere. Just like this. This is ass, right? And you just know that corporate executives are like, oh my god, this is amazing. We can't wait to pour all of our money into this. This is the future. But for everyone who plays video games, this looks like absolute garbage. But still, this probably looks better than Mindseye. But when I see Mindseye, this is what I think of. This complete shite. I mean, visually, it looks kind of similar, right?
Chunks out, and then that'll get put into the Jira database, and that'll get sent out to devs to fix.
Look at the run-in, bro. I have no doubt a lot of very talented people worked on this game, and it's almost always like middle management, upper management, executives that fuck these things up. But they were clearly not given enough time as developers to polish this and turn it into something that looks like what I assume they would want their respected work to be. Something that they could feel proud of. But this looks fucking
You have to play
ass.
the whole thing, and that's what takes time. You've got to do a full playthrough.
Everyone's just sat there like, yeah, boss. Yeah, boss. Like, nobody said... It's a dev diary, and it's just this one guy saying things, and everyone's just sat nodding like, yeah, keep paying off. Check, please.
We've got to notice that in Mission 3, somebody said something, and continuity is okay in Mission 17. I don't think we could have worked longer, harder, put as much blood and guts, sweat into it.
How's it a dev diary when it's just this guy speaking? It shows the director instructing an onlooker to make a note of an issue he has noticed as he plays the game. Developers say this was a regular occurrence, resulting in what Ben and Mark claim were known within the studio as Leslie tickets. They had a nickname for it. Jamie says they also heard them referred to as Leslie bugs or simply Leslies. He's pulled a Leslie. Friends reference. Developers told Newsbeat these could range from minor cosmetic issues to instructions to ditch whole missions from the game, and there was an expectation that these would be given top priority. Get on it. Get on this, Leslie. It didn't matter what else you were doing, what else was being worked on, says Ben. The Leslie ticket had to be taken care of. What a dick this guy sounds like. Jamie says the practice introduced instability and prevented teams from taking ownership of their work. Yeah, because you might get a Leslie. Developers say the decision to launch Mindseye in June 2025 prompted a period of crunch, a games industry term for mandatory overtime. They say this meant extra 8 hours of unpaid overtime per week for the majority of staff, although some employees were excused from it. Morg says the crunch began in mid-Feb and continued into May, with workers eventually being promised 7 hours of leave per 8 hours overtime to be taken after Mindseye release. This never happened, by the way, according to the open letter. People just felt like they were being commanded to give a lot to the company without too much in return. Nothing, and redundancy to follow. And a game that failed so badly, everyone is going to lose their jobs. You were giving your life, your time, your finite currency of time to essentially complete waste. You weren't getting paid. You're going to be derided by practically everybody for you having worked on this fucking dumpster fire. You were giving your life up for this dog shit because of this guy's complete incompetence and delusion. Feels bad, man. Ben alleges that some departments, such as quality assurance team, were particularly affected, with some staff suffering physically and mentally as a result of the stress and pressure. Former audio programmer Isaac Hood says mistakes started piling up during crunch, and says regressions where one team would fix a bug only for another to unwittingly bring it back to life became increasingly common. And it does mess with you, he says. You really start to see morale go down, the little arguments started to happen, people are burning the candle at both ends and starting to think, what's the point? Mark says that at the studio, they expected to receive a negative reception on launch, describing the approach to its release as everybody holding their breath, and they all suffocated. Nevertheless, staff gathered in Bob's Edinburgh studio to celebrate Mindseye launch on 10th of June. Mark says everyone was drinking champagne. Oh no, brother. Everyone was gathered around. Leslie, oh, King Leslie. Glasses together. Oh, look, we've got 3,000 players. $250 million well spent. Woo, yeah, we've all lost our job. Whoa, celebrate. Everyone was drinking champagne, just having a good time, which was quite heartwarming, I guess, and then reality set in. At the same time, it really felt like this was the last good thing that's going to happen. The celebrations were short-lived. Bob had not shared advanced copies of Mindseye with reviewers. Of course they didn't. The game was fucked. Everyone would have told the public not to buy this. But when early impressions of the game began to surface, the mood soured. Bro, what I would give for video, like following Leslie around with the camera, just recording as this happened, 24 hours a day for like the week of this launch. Oh man, that would be, I think I'd come. It'd be buckets, mate. It'd be buckets. Players who bought the game on release day encountered major performance issues and reported various bugs, including pedestrians that appeared to walk on air. And in one heavily memed example, one character's face appeared to melt due to a graphical glitch. Twitch streamer Kokonish told viewers he was instructed to cancel a sponsorship launch day stream at the last minute as word of the game's problems spread. I said this at the time, I hope Ko got paid at least some money for this, because he'll have scheduled time, potentially cancelled other sponsored stuff to do this stream. And then I saw the video. It was like, I'm going live with Mindseye. Wait, someone's on the phone. Oh no, never mind. No, we're not. It's been cancelled, which I've never seen before. I've never seen this happen. And it's because other people that had already been streaming the game, the reviews of the game, were so fucking bad that they were like, let's save this thousands of dollars on this sponsored stream and just move on with our life. So audio programmer Isaac says he had maintained some optimism in the run-up to release, but started to lose hope fairly quickly. You were just seeing disastrous review after disastrous review and thinking, this isn't going to go well. Mark says the team spent the next 2 weeks working on hotfixes, small targeted updates to address issues, until management told them that they were at risk of being laid off. This month, between 250 and 300 Bob staff lost their jobs. When this happens, the studio's dead. Like, you're not making another game. This game is never going to be successful. It's over. All the money's gone. This is just basically, it'll be math for how can we give ourselves like the longest amount of time while still technically having the ability to maybe turn things around. And that'll be the base number of employees and positions that they think they can do it with. But obviously it's fucked. If you mismanage 440 employees making this game with so much money, how are you going to manage like 30% of the employees with less time and less money to do better than the thing before? Not going to happen. The union, which put out an open letter on behalf of 93 employees, said it also plans to take legal action against Bob over what it called disastrous mishandling of the redundancy process. So that'll drain what remains of the money in the coffers for the game, probably. The studio. Ben, who's a member of the union, says he took voluntary redundancy, but fellow members Mark and Isaac, who were laid off, say they were unhappy with how their departure was handled. In a statement, Bob said to staff had poured passion, creativity, hard work into our game and our studio, adding that it was deeply saddened and didn't anticipate having to make redundancies after launch. He said it approached the redundancy process with care and transparency, meeting all of its obligations, and was committed to learning and growing from former employees' feedback. In response to complaints about studio leadership, workplace culture, and claims of internal and external forces working against the studio, Bob said, aka Leslie and the entire senior management team take full responsibility for the initial launch of Mindseye. So somebody's took Twitter off of him. Somebody stopped this guy talking and said, Leslie, go and sit in the back room, fucking put your dunce hat on, get in the corner, look at the wall, don't come out, you're in timeout, son. We've got to, for our sake, for everybody's sake, stop you speaking. You can't be in the public eye anymore because you are fucked in the feed. Because you put us in. Not only was the game bad, but you've signal boosted how bad the game is by being such a fucking Melvin in public. The version of the game that released did not reflect the experience our community deserved. It said it remained committed to ultimately delivering Mindseye as the game it always envisioned, and one that players are excited to play. Good luck. The statement added the studio had already rolled out updates to address issues and was working on enhancements and fresh new content. The ex-workers who spoke to BBC Newsbeat says they are doubtful that Mindseye can recover from its launch. Absolutely not. They're also pessimistic about their own future projects and those of former colleagues in an industry which has seen tens of thousands of job losses over the past 3 years. This is just the case. It sucks, and there's no real spin you can put on this. The games industry is shrinking in terms of money coming in from all avenues, as we went over earlier. And there's just simply not enough space in the industry for how many workers there are, and there's more and more constantly. It's basically people are going to have to start making like indie projects and joining really small local teams or teams that they can work remotely across the globe. And probably taking big bumps, big decreases in salaries and things like that. Because for outside of the few top % of people that can just go anywhere and do anything, there's just too many like mid-level and lower-level, entry-level workers for an industry that is provably, objectively in financial decline. So yeah, it's just how it is. It sucks, but what can you say? They are also pessimistic. Ben says the impact will be felt in Scottish development scene too. It's really sad what would have been an amazing opportunity for the industry up here wasted. Despite negativity around Mindseye and Bob, Isaac says some of his colleagues were incredibly talented and some of the best people he's ever worked with. Mark says they decided to speak out because of these colleagues and in hope something will change. We all know each other and we all know how much we're worth, Mark says, and we need to stand together. There we go. Uplifting message at the end of what is just an absolute fucking disaster of a story. One that absolutely things like this do impact the industry. The more you see the hundreds of millions of dollar mark in a failed product, which we're seeing with unprecedented levels of frequency, whether from these like startup studios or from AAA publishers and developers and all these studios closing down, it just looks bad. It means unless there's some kind of like new boom or bubble or whatever, all this money is never coming back into the industry. They've gone and put money into other things, predominantly fucking AI and shit now. So yeah, it sucks, but it's deserved. Like, what more can you say? It's absolutely deserved. And unfortunately for these guys and everyone involved in this, this was mostly probably due to one guy who hopefully will not be given the same opportunities in the industry, because he absolutely didn't deserve the opportunities he was given here with all this money and all this trust and all these people working under him. But either way, thanks for watching. The link to this article will be in the description. If you want to see me cover something, let me know. Social medias are all open. Discord is currently receiving a bit of a facelift, so it might be a bit buggy, but you can join. Twitter, things like that, you can contact me on. And check the link if you want to check out Gamer Supps. Buy stuff using my link, my code. You get a discount, I get money back. Win-win for everybody. I'll see you next time. Peace.